Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. We're still waiting for Nehemiah to join us. I'm not sure if he's still having technical issues, but wait a couple more minutes and we'll see if he signs on.
Morning.
Morning.
Afternoon, Nehemiah. All right, everybody, welcome to another open discussion. And Mike, if Zoom shouldn't be asking you to log in, it should be open to anyone so long as you have the link to it. right, let's go ahead and open up today's discussion with the prayer for spiritual workers, and then we'll move into questions. And then after our open discussion session, we'll continue our conversation with prayer. Prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, aye, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right. Once again, welcome everyone to our 54th open discussion. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, either via YouTube, or if you're joining us on Zoom, you can ask the questions in the chat there or use the raise hand feature. Are there any questions? Or do we have any questions? Michael, I'm not sure why it's doing that. It may be because you're joining through the browser, but other people can join either through the app or through the browser, but it shouldn't be asking for a password.
But if he has a link, just have him enter the password or place it in the chat.
Yeah, if you should see in the email, there's an invitation to Zoom, and the password for the Zoom meeting is in there. But if you click the link, it should already be incorporated into the password. But it shouldn't be asking to log into FIU. So do we have any questions or comments? Yes. As we wait for your questions to come in, give you a quick preview of a new for me, diagram that Nima put together. And I think we can jump into this after we finish up our discussion on prayer. And it is 2 pages talking about the importance of service as a road to true spiritual freedom. And it's just a preview for now, so I won't go into it. And then after that, we'll move into a discussion of the mystic knowledge of the major pathways of life or evolution, freedom, and free will. And yes, there is a difference between the two, a very big difference between the two. But we'll go into this right after we finish our discussion on prayer. You won't find, this is not in the class notes folder yet, but it will be uploaded in time for us to review it and go into these subjects in a lot more detail. Okay, so there, that's a preview. So any questions? Okay, there's a question here about the interconnection of the planets and the physical body or physical structure. It said, love to know more on planetary interconnection with the physical body through many journeys to sections of the body. I myself have interconnected both the physical and the planetary structures for both cleansing and clearing purposes, like Neptune near the navel lower area. Can you explain more on this subject?
It's not much known about it. We are given information through Tantra, through the Tantra Satra, Mantra Satra documents. A lot of stuff you see out there is not real. It has they can't back up any real data on it, or it's not coming from one of the great masters that have visited Earth. I would be weary of that. And then in astrology gives a lot of information on it, but a lot of the astrology of today is watered down, and a lot of misinformation have been entered into it, especially in the Western world. And you can't really rely on it. You have to go back to the original teachings, if you can find them, to trace them, you know. So we do know that the chakras align and respond to certain planets according to the Mantra Satra teachings, because the Mantra Satra teachings talk about vibrations coming from the sun and intermingling with the moon, the planet, the moon, the earth, and the other planets. And we also know that because of our history, certain planets stepped up and kept intact, kept intact the subtle rims that had to be created and had to be maintained for man. So certain planets introduce certain energies and certain entities from those planets, from the etheric planes of those planets, took up residence on various mental and astral and etheric planes in order to help maintain a certain balance. And because of that, we have a link with those planets, but that link have diminished and have been increased over 18,600,000 some years, and we do know that. We know that the first two chakras is in the tavic matter that comes from the sun is modified heavily by the Mother Earth in the first two chakras. That's the root chakra and the sex chakra. And then the tavic matter coming from the sun again is in the solar plexus and the heart chakra, and that's directly from the sun. The tavic matter coming from the moon of the sun is modified by the moon in the throat chakra and the Christ chakra. We know that. And then we know that the tavic matter, that all tavic matter being introduced from the solar system, from all the planets, is represented in the 1,000 lotus of the crown chakra. We do know that. Now, we also know that because of that there are that the planet Venus, Saturn, Mars is also represented in various parts of the chakras. They're not dominant, but they are represented there. I think there's at least six planets is represented along the spine, along the major chakras. I think I have a diagram that lays all that out. But that's what I know. That's what can be legitimately traced back to the ancient teachings. I hope I answer your question.
Okay, another question here. What is the purpose of prayer and how do we fully utilize it?
Yeah, the prayer is as we said, and I think I did several videos on this lectures. it's a way to manipulate subtle energies and move raw subtle energies from one level of operation to another level of operation, but with purpose and direction. So you pull the energy in, you pull this raw energy within you, and then you release it from your auric structure with purpose and direction in order to help some situation, a person, or healing, or a whole community or state or town. And you can do this through manipulating the subtle energy.
Let's see. Angel, could you expand on your question? Do you mean skull and bones? Is that who you're referring to? Are there any additional questions? Okay. Okay, the question is, this question, the structures of the government, can they be located within the bone or skeletal structure, metaphysically speaking?
I don't know about that. I mean, the structure of government is part of our mental makeup and our collective consciousness. It's not necessarily a physical thing, but the physical is a result of the mental. But everything starts on that mental level or conscious level. So government is a part of our collective consciousness.
Okay, Veronica, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead and ask your question.
Good morning. Thank you. I just, as you mentioned, like a collective consciousness, I'm curious of how you can connect to a consciousness that is pure and because I'm starting to just understand, or a consciousness that's liberating, or a consciousness of freedom.
Well, you have
But definitely,
you have many layers of consciousness. Right now, wherever you are, you have the consciousness of insects there with you. You have the consciousness of plant life there with you. You have the consciousness of air particles there with you. And then you have the consciousness of the animal kingdom there with you. You also have the consciousness of the deviant kingdom there with you. If you have water or dirt or any elements in the room, which you do, because everything is made of elements, you have all these blended consciousness. Then you have your neighbor's consciousness, your neighborhood consciousness, and your local government consciousness. And all of that creates the reality in which you live in. It's there. At the same time, you have the higher consciousness of higher beings who is holding up negative karma to allow you to experience what you want to experience so that you can grow. They say we live by the grace of the masters. So the reason why they say that is because from what we heard, most of the masters, or even the spiritual hierarchy of this earth, they make a decision to stay here even when they can leave, because they help this earth with her mission to give us a place to grow and learn. So by them staying here, they help hold up the negative karma of man, which we richly deserve. So that's why we collective consciousness, and it is possible. And if you didn't have the higher cosmic beings and higher adepts and masters here, then we wouldn't be able to be here. So you can have they do blend, but they blend for a purpose. The same way we are here for a purpose in order to help the plant life. And scientists have proven that because we know that we receive oxygen from plant life, and the plant life receives carbon dioxide from us. That's an exchange of energy, which is also an exchange of consciousness. And it's a collective consciousness working together. The same way the insects do a particular job in order to allow us to live, the same way we do a particular job to allow the insects. Nature itself is a blended state of consciousness in order to create this manifested reality that we live in. I hope that answers your question.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, Veronica, to add to that, we're also taught that when we study the teachings given to us by certain masters, we connect ourselves to them. And at times we can even hear their voice guiding us through certain, aspects or troubles in our life. And also when you're given a mantra by a master and you practice that mantra, you too are connecting yourself to that master and to their consciousness as well.
Thank you.
All right, Jack, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, good evening. I was asking about, I was listening to Dr. King talking about the practice of praying with the feet. And I just wondered if you'd practiced this and if you had any advice about how to do it correctly.
Many years ago, I did. In my opinion, you need a good level of concentration in order to do that. So, but I wouldn't go around recommend everybody to do that. Learn the way the way we do prayer, and then if you want to experiment with that, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Have any more questions? A question here from Charlie. It says, will humanity be given the opportunity to redact the free will contract for freedom, or is it too late?
The thing is, with anything, when you choose something, you cause I forget the Sanskrit terminology for it, but what it's saying is that you cause a huge domino effect, and you make one move. In order to correct that move, you have to do 1,000 steps, in other words, or 10,000 steps. And that's the problem with making the wrong choice a lot of times, because you bring about pressures of karma on you to teach you 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 lessons in order to get back to where you were. So that's the problem with that. So our journey, free will, forced unconscious reincarnation on us, or what they call the samsara effect on our involution and evolution. So we find ourselves in this unconscious reincarnation over and over and over and over and over again until we awaken out of it. So yes, we can reject the free will by choosing freedom, but it's going to take many moves and calculations and in order to get out of that. I hope that answers your question.
Well, I have a question pertaining specifically to Operation Earthlight, in which energies from the Mother Earth are given directly to the higher Diva kingdom, and in a sense bypassing the negative energy that humanity sends out to the Diva kingdom. Is that one of the goals of Operation Earthlight, to bypass the energy that humanity pumps out?
Well, the energy that they're giving the higher Diva kingdom is still being manipulated by who?
By the Divas?
No.
Or by us?
Yeah.
But it's not the negative type of energy that we're pumping out, though.
No, but it was conceived by someone in the what?
In a human form.
In human form. And it was introduced to the
Introduced to the spiritual hierarchy and
to the spiritual hierarchy of Earth in order to perform. So I mean, and their intent for that is to make a slow transition, right?
right.
A slow balanced trend. So their purpose and direction is to help mankind. So that's why they wanted the apparatus to be built, to my understanding, to be built on the higher etheric realms in order to push that energy to the higher Diva kingdom.
So had that mission not been undertaken, the CC and the basic level, the drastic weather changes we're seeing now would be much more intense and much more frequent and much more turbulent.
Maybe not that mission, and also the Saturn mission, and the Operation Blue Water, because all of that was the manipulation of energy going to the Diva kingdom. So that's the way I understood it. And also Operation Sunbeam. So you think about it, you have Blue Water, the Operation Blue Water, you have Operation Sunbeam, and then you had Operation Prep Out, and you had Operation you had the Saturn mission, and then you had Earthlight, and all of those were devic manipulation. You know, and that goes back to the first question that was asked today. In their surveys of the Earth, they found that that there's a deterioration of energy being received from the other planets, because all the planets interchange energy, subtle and cosmic and taphic matter. You know, and they actually manipulate the taphic matter of the sun, because all of us live on the blanket of taphic matter, which is a combination of all the cosmic energies of the universe being manipulated by the sun and pushed out, and the sun creates this well of energy that the whole solar system and even planets outside the solar system exist on. And then each one of those planets take that energy in by the logos of that planet and manipulates that energy and push it back out in order to create a greater stabilization for the life forms, all life forms, the micro life forms to the macro life forms, and that energy is exchanged between the planets. Well, because of the huge population of Earth population being in the lower hells or the lower astral realms, we take the atmosphere, we take the energy of the Earth atmosphere, and is rotated through our auric body and pushed back out into the atmosphere, creating the existence that we need in order to learn. Well, because of that, it diminished, it created some type of void where a lot of the energy was being repelled back from the other planets and not allowed to mix. So that's where most of those missions came from. And that's where the disease, a lot of the disease that we experience over the centuries, they began to notice that a couple hundred years ago. And you had all these different pandemics and all these diseases and strange weather. So all of that was going to be intensified after the primary initiation of Earth. So they brought about some type of stabilization to guide us into this.
But the repelling of that energy back into the universe or back into the solar system, isn't that just the ring past knot?
Yeah. And to have a slow deterioration of that ring past knot.
Yeah, but would you say that there was an acceleration of that gradual deterioration of that layer? Would you say there was an acceleration beginning with the primary initiation of Earth? That like let it fuse almost, so to speak?
Yeah, because that's what we were told. Yeah, because the Earth had received all that energy, even though it would have been slow in time units, the time that it would be significant to the life forms here. And we noticed 10 years later that there was a hole in the ozone layer. and now look, 50 years later, you have what? The ice caps have disappeared, and a lot of people think this is the global warming is the release of the energies. They predicted this back at the initiation of Earth, and they also predicted it almost 100 years before the initiation of the Earth. When you go back into the theosophical teachings and the metaphysical teachings, and you'll see where they predicted that the ultraviolet rays will increase, and they also predicted that the six adepts will reveal themselves to the world, and they would do these missions to prepare us for the New Age. And the preparing for the New Age would be natural catastrophes, and it will be an increase in ultraviolet rays. It will be a decrease in certain racial groups. Will disappear. The seasons will blend into one or two seasons, and I mean, all those things were predicted hundreds of years ago.
So the natural cycle or process in a way is energy from a higher source is absorbed by, I guess you could say, a lower life form, and then reconditioned and pushed back out so that even lower life forms can take it and evolve with it. So, for example, energy comes from the central sun, is taken in by the sun of this solar system, conditioned, pushed back out so the planets can use it. They take it, condition it, push back out so the life forms upon them can use it, and so on, so on, so on.
Right, right. That's what the ancient. When you go back to the ancient teachings, that's what they show us. That's the modification of Shakti.
Right.
I think I showed you all that many years ago. So,
Yeah, I think the principle is the same if you look at the solar life cycle. So the solar life cycle is at the top of the clock. The first thing that takes it in is the ocean and the plants. Plants taking that, spit it back out. That they perform their service. Animals come along and eat the plants. They take that energy in, which was in turn reduced to a lower life form, spit it back out. That animal is hunted, consumed. What consumed that animal is taken in, released back out. Then, that whole biosphere is created right till you get to fossil fuels. And then the fossil fuel is, if you put it on a clock, it would be at 11:59, and then the sun is right there at 12 o'clock. Where it begins and ends is at the same point. But I think the principle is the same: as above, so below. It's interesting though.
Yeah, but even the soil of the earth. The soil of the earth is what? Dead remains.
Correct. Trapped life.
And in the soil of the earth, you have what? You in that dead remains, you have at least 14 major minerals, and those 14 major minerals help produce the food that we eat. So because why? Because it helps the plant life. The plant life live on those 14 major minerals, which feeds the body, animal and man.
Right. So the transmutation of the soil is through the plant and the sun.
Yeah. So it's a constant cycle like that. From high to low, from low to high, and just until it feeds everyone. So the energies, the subtle energy, when you track the subtle energies, you can go all the way back to the absolute, and then to the supreme laws of creation, and then the lesser laws of creation, which are the galaxies, and then there's even lesser laws of creation, which are the solar systems and the sun, but yet all this energy is reconditioned by every level until it gets to us.
So the process of the production of manas, it is a natural process, but it becomes contaminated by our thought and action.
Or discolored.
Discolored, sorry, yeah, discolored.
Yeah, because we take the chitta, which is universal mind substance, and we modify it by attaching our auric body to it, creating this thing called manas, and which helps us form consciousness, and then we create a mental network for ourselves with that manas, which is part of the chitta, but on a different frequency of the chitta, because it's a lower chitta.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lower mind frequency.
So on beings like on Mars or Venus,
Mm-hmm.
would it still be called manas, or would it be a different term, or is manas used to describe discoloring of the
it's-
chitta.
I think we still can call it madness. They may have a different terminology.
The manas is a principle.
Yeah. What you say?
Manas is a principle.
It's a
that
principle
exists in
because
all that-
yeah, because that's why I say not contaminated, but it's colored.
It's colored. Mhm.
You know, or reorganized to fit the life form that's using it. I mean, it's contaminated on the lower hells, yeah, even on this earth, but on the physical plane of this earth. But it's madness can be on multiple levels of existence.
So plants produce it, animals produce it, and then
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff.
Manas.
I
So
think
then-
when you talk about that, the plant madness it's a
different term.
hyphen there with something else.
Mhm. There's a question here. Is there a natural process or law to express positive actions with intention that is not considered forced?
Say that again.
So is there a natural process or law to express positive, in quotations, positive actions with intention that is not considered forced?
Oh, good question.
It's gone. Well, all action have intention. So, and all actions start from a mental level. What we are told is that the right karmic action is all right thought and all right action. So we go back to, like I always tell you, that you cannot have karma, you cannot have positive karma or right karma without having nani, which is wisdom or the knowledge of intelligent movement on a mental level and on an emotional level and on a physical level. So that's what creates this thing that we like to call positivity, which is a balance where when you make the thought and the action, you're not hurting the things around you, you're only helping to raise the vibration of those things. So, I mean, that's a great difference. That's why service is the real true religion of the universe, because our goal is to be of greater service. That's our main goal in evolution. Because if you notice in nature, everything serves from the highest to the lowest. It's always serving someone else. It's always, it exists to allow something else to exist. And that's where service comes from.
Another question here. What is the resonance of love and importance?
What is the what?
What is the resonance of love and the importance of it?
The love, like I said earlier, we live by the grace of the masters. So love energy is a preservational energy. It's an energy that preserves something. If you love something or someone, your basic instinct is to do what? Is to protect that, is to preserve it. If it's an object, what do? You slow down the oxidation of that thing. So what do? You if it's a book, you cover it with a plastic container. If it's a plant, you make sure it has plant food. You make sure it has water. You make sure it has proper light. Whatever it is, you find some type of protective shield over that thing in order to preserve it. If it's someone else, then if it's a living being, then you make sure same thing, that they have shelter, they have food, they have water, they have everything they need. They are properly educated. They are covered in a sense. That's what the energy of love does. It pushes you to preserve those things around you. So that's why love energy is one of the greatest energies in the universe. You cannot perform service without performing love. And impersonal love is the greatest love energy, and really the real only truly ultimate love energy in the universe. So and we observe that every day, because the sun shines on everything. It doesn't exclude anything or anyone. And the earth serves all life on earth. So what did that tell us? They do it unconditional, and they do it in a very impersonal way.
Another question, do we know of any mystic practices that will strengthen the memory exponentially?
Almost any concentrated practice.
Stop using your smartphone.
Yeah, that's so true, right?
Yeah.
Before, on the original phones we had, those Nokias, it only holds, 35 to 50 telephone numbers? So you was forced to remember everyone's number. Now you ask a person someone's number, they don't know. So I mean, the phone, it weakens your memory, your everything. But yeah, the concentrative practices, that's the 8 limbs of yoga. Go back to the 8 limbs of yoga. And if you practice the 8 limbs of yoga, which is a lot of, it has a lot of concentrative practices in yama and niyama and pranayama. And even asana, the mudras, So if you do that, you'll find that your memory will increase.
Another way to increase your memory, another mystical practice is often overlooked, is forward looking. Is to always make sure you're forward looking. So
Yeah.
in other words, is to stop multitasking with any and everything. So if you're gonna read a book, the phone should be down, the TV should be off. If you're gonna watch a TV, then you should be all in 100%. You shouldn't be able to hear or be distracted of anything. If you're driving, you should be concentrating on 2 things. Your current position on the road and where you're ultimately going to go. When you get there and you're parking your car, you should be thinking about what you're doing whenever you get to your destination. As you're walking through the door of your destination, you should be thinking about what's the first thing you have to do. When you're wrapping up at the end of the day, it's that type of thing where there's only one thing in the mind at a single time. And that way you turn your mind into instead of into a machine gun, you turn it into a laser. And eventually you will definitely see your memory improve. People will say, oh, you kind of one-track mind, you know, you can't do more than one thing at once. Yeah, you can do plenty of things at once. It's just you choose not to splinter your mind by trying to hold in your mind, in your conscious mind at least, so many things at once. Yeah, people brag about how much they can do at one time, but at the end of the day, they just splintering, they're just damaging their aura.
Yeah, yeah. It's called intention, and that's part of concentration. And in concentration, they call it intention, and it's part of yama, you know. And then after you can do that, they actually introduce niyama, which you recognize God in all your actions. But you're right, you know, there's in yama and concentrated practices, they teach you set aside a time for study of the spiritual teachings. Then they teach you, they tell you, they say, find a balanced affirmation, set aside time for that several times a day, and you repeat that affirmation hundreds of times in order to improve your daily movement or actions. Take time out for mantra, which improves your concentration, which is they call japa, and take time for pranayama. In the beginning, make sure it's at least 15, 20 minutes a day, and then add on as you can. And in pranayama, they give you mudra, which mudra manipulates the subtle energies in the body. And when I say subtle energies, I'm also talking about mental energies in the body. And then they tell you to take out a time in the day, maybe several times in the day, to have what they call a silent voice about yourself. Don't speak. If you speak, speak silently within you, and try to expand that as much as you can during the day. And then you can have a time in order to develop this ability is to whisper. You go to a period where you whisper. You have a whispered voice. This helps, and when you're doing that, that's all you're doing. You don't interchange it with something else. But there's a technique in how to do it. Then you have a silent psychic voice. That's where you use the mudra, where you mobilize the tongue, and then you go into imagination, and anything that you imagine is automatically created. And behind imagination is visualization. And visualization is the thing that sustains the imagination you just created. So you learn how to do that. Go back and forth and learn how to do that. And then you take time to go into silence with the imagination visualization. And then from there, once you learn to do that, then you try to boost it by using what you call a pratyahara, where you begin to control your senses. And you control your senses with silence. You know, that's one of the key to controlling your senses. You silently stare into something, and you observe that thing without making any noise. And without, and a lot of times when people do that, they use earplugs so that the hearing is not, it does not affect it, you know. And then at one point they take the earplugs off once they have been able to focus in on it. And then also they do a silent, they listen. They use the ears and they close their eyes and they listen to everything around them. And but they do it in silence again. They don't use their voice. They mobilize their tongue, and then they use the silence to smell. They use the silence, still mobilizing the tongue, going into silence, and they may plug their ears and close their eyes in order to do that. And this is withdrawing the senses into the body. Okay, so you have multiple things that you do in silence to enhance the senses. So those are all is multiple practices of concentration that you can use. I hope that answers your question.
Another question here. How can I, am I muted? Okay. How can I maintain being a grounded moral human as I get deeper into mystic and occult doctrine? I see myself taking my foot off the gas because I know how different I will think in my future.
Trying to hold on to your friends. That's what it sounds like.
Well, I mean, the more you get into mysticism, the more you will change your attitude and your perspective of many things. And development is about surrendering to the divine law of karma. And the divine law of karma walks you down a moral road. And the only way you surrender is through change. You surrender to the change or to the knowledge and wisdom that you have been given. You surrender to that knowledge and you follow suit. So, I mean, if you can't do that, you're not ready for this yet. And that's just simple, practical knowledge and information. That doesn't mean that you become the person that, like some of these religions, they go and start preaching to other people how terrible they are. Because mystics doesn't do that. We recognize everybody as where they are for a reason. And when they're ready to make that change, we guide them in that change if we have that ability to do so. So, and we don't condemn them. We recognize that everyone is a divine spark of God, and that they on a journey. But when our journey takes us to where we need to go, we go there. But we go there in the sense that we're going to be of service to everyone around us, regardless of who they are and what they are. I hope that answered that question.
Jake, sorry, when you say maintain being a grounded moral person, did you refer to, or were you referring to going down the wrong occult path as you get deeper into the teachings or different doctrines? I'm not sure. No? Okay. There's another question here. When becoming the observer, does that slow down the external thought forms?
Well, what do they mean by the observer in the yama? In the second limb?
Hi, Nehemiah. This is Veronica. I'm not sure about that exact name that you know it to be, but just when, let's just say meditation and you're not trying to think of anything and you're just going within and paying attention to trying to have stillness and
Yeah,
then
I speak against not thinking about it. That's not, that's not a good thing. To blank your mind is not good, but when you do concentrative practices that's marked or considered meditative practices, you should have a purpose and intent. I just went down a list of that intent because what you're doing, you're building your mind and your body and your senses to be able to take on the higher energy flow and mental energy flow that will come once you have tamed your mind, your consciousness, your senses, and you have and you can direct the energies through the body so that you can concentrate those energies and move it through the body with great speed and accuracy. So that's what the concentrated meditative practices do. It leads you into true meditation. And true meditation is when you can focus on something and become become one with that thing that you're focusing on. That's true meditation. And and then the higher meditation can be described in many levels, but the beginning of meditation is becoming one with that thing that you are concentrating on. And you do that through concentration of the mental and vital energies in the body. And one of the techniques of doing that is realizing that everything is one, and that God is a part of everything, and therefore God is the observer, and that thing that you are observing too is one and the same.
So what are you saying, that she has a simultaneous realization that she's both?
Huh?
Are you saying that she should eventually have a simultaneous realization of being both?
Yes. That's one of the things that you will come to realize. You are the observer and you are the thing that's being observed.
Okay.
Because there's only one life, and that one life is God. And we are a part of God. We make up the body of God. The whole universe make up a fraction of the body of God. So, a lot of people get it wrong in meditation, and they tell you to blank your mind. No, you don't blank your mind. You tame the mind. And I just gave a list earlier how you tame the mind. And eventually, it's all in yama, nayama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, all in the 8 limbs of yoga. It teach you how to tame the mind, and you tame the mind just like Bernard was saying. You focus on what you're focusing on. You have intention in everything you go to do. You don't lose that intention. If you're walking, you focus on walking. If you're running, you focus on running. If you're studying, you focus on studying. And you will have an intensification of your presence of who you are and what you are. So and when you're doing your affirmations, you find the right affirmation, and you that's all you do is that affirmation. So it's not blanking the mind, it's focusing the mind. So don't ever sit and blank the mind. If you blank the mind, you will allow discarnated entities to enter your aura. You open the door for them to enter your aura and give you some type of psychosis. So don't blank the mind.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
You did, and I want to just further give like an example just to make sure I did listen to what you explained, and also tied in what Bernard, just the focusing one thing at a time. But what occurred was, at times I do have where just thoughts, let's just say through work behavior, learn to multitask or to have ideas. Let's say that you think of something and you're like, how should I, or what job? Let's say I was going on a look at that job, and I got different reasons why I evaluate if I should take that job or not. So I have multiple thoughts going on. But what happened recently is that, and I guess maybe it was more so I focused, but not like how I've done before. And when I was just observing what was going on, or just breathing and making it simple, I didn't have a lot of the multi thoughts that I usually have. And that was odd to me. And it was the first time when I guess the intention was observe. And when I observed, and there's something else, I don't know if it's, and I'll make sure I have the right name to it, but there was like a study where how electrons, when it's focused on, they don't respond the same way that if they're not being focused on. So it was just like me also knowing or looking at like my thought forms, to where generally when I didn't have that as an observer or observing, they're spatial, they're just everywhere. But there was more so, I guess, stillness. It wasn't, my thoughts weren't the same. So that's where that question stemmed from. But I do understand, and I appreciate what you told me about not coming to a point of blankness, because I'm going to allow other things that have definitely, I surely don't want.
So if you're thinking on a particular subject, concentration and pointedness of mind, if you think on that thing, everything related to that thing should line up for you. In other words, so it's not a montage of thought. It's everything related to that particular subject will reveal itself to you when you can concentrate properly. So because in other words, your channel of thought lines up, and everything that's related to that is given to you. Within seconds or minutes, you can write down 100 things. So that's concentration. Is that what you're experiencing?
Yeah. And the thing about it is, because usually if I say, okay, well, I'm going to concentrate, and this is lately, not how it's always been, but just lately, things are more so where I'll have multiple things going on, do this. So like what Bernard was saying, it's just, if I had a task, okay, I'm going to go to the store, but then I'd be thinking about this, picking up my phone, changing the music. I need to read this. I need to watch this. So many different things coming through. And that was for a moment. I experienced that recently,
Yeah, I realized many decades ago, like when I'm driving, I normally don't listen to the radio unless I want to lower my vibration, So, but if I'm driving, I drive, and most people found that weird, because in my younger days, I used to blast the radio. And then I realized that it was messing with my aura. So I start driving most of the time without the radio. And then if I did turn the radio on, I would turn on the lecture tape that I might like listening to, or professor or somebody I might want to listen to. If I didn't have anything that if I'm going to a meeting, it's a silent time. If I'm just driving somewhere, just doing a task that means nothing, then that's when I would turn on the radio. And if you try that, you'll notice that it's a big difference. If you're going to take care of tasks, then give yourself that silent time to focus on getting to that direction. You'll notice that you'll begin to have more and more control over your mind, over your body, over everything. So, but that's part of Yama. Okay, I hope I answered your question.
You did so much. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, there's the questions here. It's a bit of a long one. So during a deep meditative state that I've reached just before I woke up from sleep, I experienced myself like flying really fast when inhaling, and for 1 or 2 seconds I saw colorful images that stopped exactly when it was time to inhale air again. It felt like my breathing, or my attention on breathing and inhaling particularly, stopped my third eye visions every time. Do you have any ideas why does this happen?
Yeah, I would say that it's not a deep meditative state. Number one.
Sounds like a projection.
It's probably a concentrative, contemplative state. And that's in the state of projection. When you project from your body, if you want to aim yourself back to where your body is, you take a deep breath. And when you take a deep breath, it's like turning on a switch in the physical body to pull the astral body back into the physical body. It's always, in my experience, in projection, there's always an array of colors when you exit the body and when you enter the body. So those are normal things. But that's not meditation. If it was meditation, you would have had a higher level of projection. And the projection time in a meditative or highly contemplative projection, you are limited on how long you can stay out of the body. So, did I answer everything on that question?
I think so. Yes, he says. All right, another question here. I have a question related to the concept of time. Everything that has a beginning also has an end. However, it is my understanding that time is a cycle and everything repeats. Is that a paradox?
I don't know if everything repeats. The energy cycles repeats, and then it might repeat itself through different levels of consciousness. But yeah, time manifestation brings about time. Time does not exist outside of manifestation. So manifestation brings about time. The unmanifested has no time. The unmanifested states of existence has no time. So you have time, and then the lower you are in.
Uh-oh. Nehemiah, can you hear me? I think his
He's
internet.
frozen.
Yeah, I think his internet may have gone out. Oh. Thanks, Charlie. I'm just kidding. Let's wait a couple minutes to see if, yeah, he just dropped. So we'll wait a couple minutes to see if he'll reconnect.
You got me? Okay.
Okay. I think you dropped out in the middle of your response to that time question.
Okay. What was the last thing you heard me say?
Saying time exists within manifestation or within creation. Time only exists within manifest creation. If you go outside it, the unmanifested, there's no time.
Right. There's no time in the unmanifested. It only exists in manifestation. And the more involved you are in manifestation, the greater pressure of time is on you. And the more evolved you are, the less the pressures of time. Time is a karmic thing. It has a karmic configuration. It represents the pressures of karma. So the more you evolve, the less time affect you. So those are the precepts of time inside of manifestation.
So hence why, so I'm saying, well, hence why time moves, I guess you could say, slower on the higher realms and faster on the lower realms.
Right, right.
Another question here, is lucid dreaming considered a deep meditative state?
No, it's not. It's a slight form of concentration, to be honest with you. It's not even contemplation.
Another question here, does sexuality have any importance in lucid dreaming? I'm asking this question because I've noticed that it is easier to experience lucidity in dreams when it has sexuality in it. That sounds more like a wet dream than a lucid dream.
It's not, but that is a practice that's used in the black arts.
Oh.
So in the black arts, there's a practice where you either think about a lot of sex or you have a lot of sex and then you try to make a projection from that. But believe me, you'll project from your lower, to the lower realms when you do that.
Okay. All right, you're welcome. You're welcome, Charlie. Are there any additional questions? Okay. We're coming up to the 2-hour mark, so we probably won't have time to go into the prayer diagrams today. That's okay, we had quite a lot of good questions. Sorry about that. I think I just kicked myself off the stream. Can you guys see us on YouTube? Can you guys hear and see me? Okay. Okay, good. Question, can you explain what is a deep meditative state?
I think I explained that many times. A deep meditative state is when you can, when you have mastered concentration, that's pushing the thought down one direction for long periods of time and precisely, and then where the concentration immediately leads into where your practice of concentration immediately leads into a meditative and a contemplative state where you not only push the mind, but you can push the subtle energies, the mind and vital energies in the body, and where you can control even parts of the flow of blood in the body as well, which leads you to meditation. Meditation is when you can move all the energies of the within the nadis of the aura and concentrate them down to the base of the spine, and then use all those energies to unlock the 90+% of Kundalini energy in the Muladhara chakra, and then release that energy into Sushumna. Because when you untie the Kundalini 3.5 knot, then you have tremendous energy. That's actually the Pandora box of your body. And then you take this energy and you push it into Sushumna, and you concentrate that energy into each chakra along the spine, and you can unlock the chakras at that point. You can open the chakras fully and enter into what's called the all-knowledge space, where the soul is bathed in the light of the spirit. That's true meditation. And at that point, as you move that energy into each chakra, wherever you move the energy from, the body go into a conscious deaf state. And as you move the energy up to the sex center, everything below the sex center goes into a conscious deaf state, because you have brought about that conscious deaf state, which you can take away at any moment too. And then you take that Kundalini all the way up to each chakra, at least to the throat chakra. When you move the Kundalini fully, you have to take the Kundalini at least to the throat chakra. And when you move the Kundalini partially, you could take it to the other chakras. But once you move the Kundalini fully, you must take it at least to the throat chakra. And that's deep meditation.
Okay, another question here. So there are so many spiritual paths. How can we know which one is best for us?
Like I teach, and you can go back and look at my at most of my lecture tapes. I don't know how many is there now. It have to be over 400, huh? I'm doing.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. So in there, I describe this over and over and over. all the yogas or path, the yoga is the pathway, is the spiritual pathway, regardless of people realize that it is or not, because yoga means union with God. And when you study those the yogas, which are the pathways to all the yogas blend together. So if you, no matter what path you go on, you will end up with practicing all the yogas at one time or another, at one life or another. So pick a path and move forward, you know, because they all blend together.
And Lawrence, you also notice in a lot of the handouts in the classes, when Nehemiah goes into yoga, he talks about Tantra yoga, which is the looming together of the yogas. So he always teaches us to take that sort of holistic approach to our spiritual development and to loom the yogas together. The Hatha, the Pranayama, the Raja, Bhakti, Nani, all the yogas loomed together into a complete system for spiritual development. Okay, Veronica, I see your hand is raised. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. So as an individual being, are we supposed to learn or identify with what we're called to synthesize? And where this came from is just when you were describing, Nehemiah, just how plants, our interaction with plants, oxygen, and then us carbon dioxide, and then of course there's photosynthesis. So from there, my thought was just, as me being a being here, what is it that I'm supposed to synthesize?
Yeah, I mean, you are responsible for your brother. In other words, that's what all the great masters told us. You are responsible for the human race. In other words, so your whole life should be about making the right contribution, so that the human race will have a greater energy to pull on. So your every thought, your every action affects the atmosphere, the whole totality of the earth, whether you realize that or not. It might be a fraction of a effect, but still it's an effect that makes the whole. So the great teachings tell us that, you know. So they even go so far to say that the wrong intense thought can affect the air currents on the other side of the world. So you need to think about that. You know, the reason why we have poverty and the reason why we have people don't have drinking water in certain parts of the world is because of the politics, which is the mindset that we have placed on geography, on races of people, on ideologies. You know, we built that. We built that and maintained that in our own thought and actions, and we promote it on a daily basis. So when you see someone suffering somewhere, you are the cause of that in some type of way. And you might be also the cause to help them too. So that's why we need to curb the way we think, the way we look at things, the way we walk through life, because whether we realize it or not, every thought and action is adding to either the evolution of this earth or the involution of this earth. So whether we realize it or not. So that's why it's best to do your best in everything you go to do. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do, and the way that I take it is just, let's just say, like withdrawing from or participating. So let's just say some of the concepts or the mindsets that I do not actively right now want to participate in, but I'm aware that I have.
Well, what you do, where you can't participate, you pray. You send energy to help that situation, to help raise the minds of the people, to help give help. And that's why we should pray every day. We should pray unselfish prayer for the betterment of the world, not a prayer to bring me the newest gadget or to make my life better. Not this foolishness that a lot of people go around saying, let me get mine first and then I think about it. No, we should be about praying for the world, praying for the upliftment, praying for that everyone receive what they should receive. And in return, anything we need, we will get. That shouldn't be our intention, but that will be the natural flow, that if we give of ourselves, then we will be maintained to continue to give of ourselves. So where you can't physically help someone, you can always lift your hands in prayer and ask for energy to be manipulated and sent to that area to help those people in need.
What about using prayer into dissolving concepts or mindsets? Does someone have of course I can pray for anything. I can pray for $1 million, but I'm just saying, when it comes to the correct intention, is it okay, or would it be proper to pray for things to be dissolved, like concepts?
No, you pray for the betterment of those people, because there's karmic things there that you may not be able to see. When you become a great master, then you can make those manipulations. Mm-hmm. But in the state that we're in now, no, I disagree with some groups where they pray for the downfall of communism. We don't do that. Everybody deserves the government that they were born in. So karmically, they have to work themselves out of that. Now, what you could do is pray for the upliftment of their minds and their position in life, so that they can take care of themselves, their families, so that they can be given everything they need to have to grow and learn, spiritually, mentally, whatever, but you don't pray for the fall of a government, or you don't pray for them, for their minds to be changed. You pray that they receive the energy so that their minds can be risen according to their own karmic position.
Okay, thank you.
But to do anything else is black magic. So when you hear some of these metaphysical groups telling you to do that, no, that's wrong. All right.
Yeah, because I don't want to impose what my limited even self right now, just with understanding or starting to practice to pray for others, but I just wanted to be pure, like the foundation of it, and not to have things be tainted when I'm what I'll be doing.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Veronica. Were you saying something else?
No, thank you.
Oh. I have another question. In your opinion, what is the purpose of life?
I have no idea. Hey, I know what I'm taught and what I experience, and I know that one of the reasons we're here is to raise the power kundalini up and down the spine so that we can break the wheel of rebirth, so that we can become a part of the solution and not the problem. I know that. Anyone who tell you they know the purpose of life, then our person.
Okay. So are there any final questions before we close out today's open discussion session? Okay, you know, I think this is a question. Heal the world, make it a better place. If our thoughts create realities, when are we going with the thought of we need to heal the world? Don't we also state a fact that the world is sick?
Well, we stated that earlier that one of our main purposes is to be of service, and that's why you control the vehicle consciousness called kundalini up and down the spine. Because when you do that, you can be of greater service. The more you raise your consciousness, the more you raise the power kundalini, the more you act in an act of service, you become a natural, you become a part of nature. In other words, you follow the law of karma, and you become an intricate part of the law of karma, and which I said earlier, you become a part of the solution and not the problem. And in our ignorant state of desire, of want, of greed, of envy, of all these impurity traits that we have collected from our many, many reincarnations, we tend to be a part of the problem. When we clear those impurities and walk towards bathing our soul in the light of the spirit through true deep meditation, then we become a server. We begin to serve humanity because why? We know the law at that point, and we work strictly within the law in order to uplift every living thing on Earth, in the solar system, in the galaxy, in the universe. That becomes our main goal and purpose.
Should we have the intention of thankfulness when praying?
I mean, that's part of, that's one of the things we should have. So when we go into the prayer, I think when you're going to go into those diagrams which lays all that out.
Yes.
So in our next class, maybe we'll get to the prayer. We'll get to those diagrams and into the descriptions of the 12 blessing and all of that.
Final question. If we need to be at service or of service, does that mean someone needs to be served? Am I right? Is this how it works?
Everyone needs to be served. You need to be of service to everyone, everything. Why do you think the Buddhists, they, in their description of service and bhakti, they try not to even kill a bug. I mean, they live a life of service. They pray for the world. The same thing with the nuns. Even some of the Christian nuns or Catholic nuns, they give their life where they pray. They make prayer a part of their day where they praying for parts of the world and for the upliftment of mankind. And they try not to pull on the outside world. On the outside world, they try to plant their own food and just be a vessel where energy come in and energy go out. They may not describe it like that, but mystically you can look and see that that's what's happening. They become that point of consciousness for karmic control. And that's something that mystic groups that practice prayer and service, that's what they're looking to do. Become those karmic stabilizing groups around the world in order to hold the light for the world, to allow mankind to be able to advance and develop themselves.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and close out today's class with the New Lord's Prayer. And just a reminder, not last week, but the week prior, we went through this page and the prayer diagrams, the Understanding the Power of Love. We read through it. And next open discussion, we'll move into Understanding the Power of Love Energy with regards to the actual prayer techniques. Okay. So these should be available in the class notes folder, the shared folder, Google Drive folder. So if you have any additional questions or questions you'd like to ask us privately, you can send us an email and we'll respond to those as well. The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. All right, thank you very much, everyone. See you next time and have a wonderful week.
Thank you.